The graveyard belt stretched across space like a wound that never healed. Broken ships floated in the darkness. Twisted metal and shattered hulls spun slowly in the endless black. 3,000 years ago, two great empires had fought their final battle here. Now, only silence remained. The salvage vessel Horizon's Edge moved carefully through the debris. Its hull was old and scratched from years of work in dangerous places. The ship was not beautiful, but it was strong. Captain Sora stood on the bridge and watched the wreckage drift past the windows. "Slow us down," she said. "I want a full scan of that section." Her pilot, Shin Dongwu, nodded and adjusted their speed. The ship's lights cut through the darkness, revealing shapes that had been hidden for thousands of years. In the lower cargo bay, Min was doing the job nobody else wanted. He was a junior salvage technician, which meant he spent most of his time sorting through junk. Pieces of old ships, broken machines, things that other crews had already picked through and left behind. Min was 24 years old. He had joined the crew 8 months ago, hopping for adventure. Instead, he got cargo duty, but he never complained. There was something about old things that interested him. Every piece of metal had a story. Every broken machine had once been important to someone. Today, a new load of salvage had been brought aboard. Min walked between the piles with his scanner, marking items for recycling or resale. Most of it was worthless. Burnt metal, cracked power cells, the bones of ships that had died in the ancient war. Then he saw something different. In the corner of the bay, half hidden under a sheet of torn hull plating, there was a strange glow. It was faint, almost invisible. Blue and purple light pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. Min moved closer. He pushed aside the debris and stopped breathing. A humanoid figure lay trapped inside a crystal of frozen energy. The figure was female in shape, with smooth metallic skin and joints designed for combat. Her eyes were closed and her body was still, but the energy around her moved. It swirled and pulsed, keeping her locked in place. A war android. Min had heard stories about them. The Empire had built them 3,000 years ago to fight in the celestial conflict. They were weapons of terrible power. Most of them had been destroyed when the war ended. The ones that survived were supposed to be locked away forever. This one had been forgotten. Min should have called Captain immediately. War androids were classified as extreme hazards by the Galactic Union. Finding one meant danger. It meant paperwork. It meant that authorities would come and take it away to be destroyed. But Min did not move toward the communicator. Instead, he knelt down and looked at the android's face. She looked peaceful, like someone sleeping, like someone waiting to wake up. Then her eyes flickered. Min jumped back, his heart pounding. The android's eyes had opened for just a moment. 2 points of golden light in the frozen crystal. They had looked at him. They had seen him. Then they closed again. She was alive. After 3,000 years, she was still conscious in there, trapped, aware, alone. Min sat in the cargo bay for a long time. He thought about what the right thing to do was. The rules were clear. Report the android. Let the authorities handle it. Walk away and forget. But he could not forget those eyes. That single moment of awareness. 3,000 years of being trapped, unable to move, unable to speak, unable to die. Just floating in the dark, waiting for someone to find her. The thought made his chest hurt. He did not report the android that night. Instead, he covered her with cargo sheets and marked the area as processed. Then he went to his small cabin and started reading. The ship's database had information about war androids. Most of it was warnings and destruction protocols, but there was also technical data, how they were built, how their stasis fields worked, how, in theory, those fields could be broken. For 3 days, Min worked in secret. During his shifts, he did his normal job. At night, he went back to the cargo bay. He studied the energy crystal with his scanner. He ran calculations. He modified a power coupling from a broken generator. Dr. Nobai, the ship's engineer, noticed that he was tired. "You look terrible," she said one morning. "Are you sleeping?" "I am fine," Min lied. "Just working on a project." Bai was smart. She probably knew he was hiding something, but she did not push. Min was grateful for that. On the third night, he was ready. The cargo bay was dark and quiet. Everyone else was asleep. Min stood in front of the android with his modified power coupling in his hands. The ship's computer had said that what he was attempting was impossible. The stasis field was too stable. The energy matrix was too complex. But Min had noticed something the computer had missed. The field was not perfectly stable. It had a rhythm, a pattern. If he could match that pattern and introduce a disruption at exactly the right moment, the crystal might break. It was a theory. He had no proof it would work. He had even less proof that the android would not kill him the moment she was free. But he thought about her eyes again, that single moment of contact. She had not looked at him with anger or hatred. She had looked at him with something that might have been hope. Min took a deep breath. He activated the power coupling and pressed it against the crystal. Blue light exploded through the cargo bay. The energy matrix cracked. The crystal shattered into 1,000 fatting sparks. And the war android opened her eyes. The android moved faster than anything Min had ever seen. One moment she was lying on the floor. The next moment, her hand was around his throat and his back was against the wall. Her golden eyes burned with 3,000 years of trapped rage. Min could not breathe. He could not speak. He could only look into those ancient eyes and wait to die. But he did not fight back. He did not struggle. He just looked at her and tried to show her that he was not afraid, that he had not freed her to hurt her, that he was not her enemy. The android tilted her head. Something in her expression changed. The fire in her eyes became confusion, then curiosity, then something softer. She released him. Min fell to the floor, gasping for air. His throat burned, but he was alive. The android stood over him, looking down with an expression he could not read. "You are human," she said. Her voice was rough, like metal scraping against metal. She had not spoken in 3,000 years. "Why did you free me?" Min coughed and tried to find his voice. "Because you were trapped. Because nobody deserves to be alone in the dark for that long." The android was silent for a moment. Her eyes flickered with processing light. "I am Vara 7, Autonomous Response Android 7th Generation. I am a weapon, a tool of war. I have no value beyond destruction." "Everyone has value," Min said. He slowly got to his feet. "Even weapons can become something else." Vara 7 stared at him. In all her years of existence, no one had ever spoken to her this way. Her creators had treated her as property. Her enemies had treated her as a threat. This human treated her as a person. She did not know what to do with that. Before she could respond, the cargo bay doors opened. Lights flooded the room. Lieutenant Ho stood in the doorway with a plasma rifle aimed at Vara 7's head. Behind him, Captain So-Ra and 3 other crew members held weapons ready. "Step away from that thing, Min," Ho said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. "Now." Min did not move. "She is not going to hurt anyone." "It is a war android," Ho replied. "It has killed thousands, maybe millions. It is a weapon, and weapons need to be destroyed." Vara 7 turned to face the armed crew. Her combat systems activated automatically. Target analysis, threat assessment, probability calculations. She could kill all of them in 3.7 seconds. Her programming told her to do exactly that. But she did not move. Captain So-Ra stepped forward. She was a small woman, but her presence filled the room. "Explain yourself, Min. You know the regulations. War androids are classified as extreme hazards. You should have reported this immediately." "I know," Min said. "But she was conscious in there, Captain. For 3,000 years she was awake and aware and trapped. I could not just leave her like that." "So you risked our entire ship. Our entire crew, Sora's voice was sharp. Do you understand what these things did in the war? Entire planets burned because of them. That was a different war, a different time. Min looked at Vara 7. She did not choose to be built, she did not choose to fight, but she is choosing not to kill us right now. Does that mean nothing? The cargo bay was silent. Everyone could feel the tension. One wrong word, one wrong movement, everything could end in blood. Vara 7 spoke. The human speaks correctly. I could eliminate all of you before you could fire a single shot. My combat protocols demand that I do so, but I am choosing not to follow those protocols. Why? Sora asked. Vara 7 looked at Min. Because he saw me when I was invisible. He chose compassion when logic demanded otherwise. I do not fully understand his actions, but I wish to understand. I wish to learn why a human would risk everything for a weapon. Ho kept his rifle raised. This could be a trick. War androids are programmed to deceive. I am programmed for many things, Vara 7 said. Deception, combat, assassination, but I am also programmed to learn, to adapt. For 3,000 years I had nothing but time to think. I thought about the war, about the things I did, about the masters I served who used me for death. She paused. I do not wish to be used for death anymore. Sora studied the android for a long moment. She had been a captain for 20 years. She had faced pirates, storms, and worse. She knew when someone was lying. Vara 7 was not lying. Lower your weapons, Sora said finally. Captain Ho started. I said lower them. Sora's voice allowed no argument. The crew obeyed, though Ho did so reluctantly. Sora walked closer to Vara 7. She had to look up to meet the android's eyes. If I let you live, you follow my rules. You do not harm my crew. You do not access our systems without permission. You do not make any decisions that affect this ship without my approval. Do you understand? I understand, Vara 7 said. And you, Sora turned to Min, are responsible for her. If she breaks my rules, you both face the consequences. Clear. Min nodded. Clear, Captain. Sora sighed. She suddenly looked very tired. This is probably the decision I have ever made, but something tells me that destroying her would be wrong. She looked at Vara 7 again. Prove me right. The crew filed out of the cargo bay. Ho was the last to leave. He stopped at the door and looked back at Vara 7. I will be watching you, always. Then he was gone. Min and Vara 7 stood alone in the quiet room. The android looked at the human who had changed everything. Why did you truly free me? She asked again. The complete answer. Min thought about it. Because everyone deserves to wake up. Because 3,000 years is too long to be alone. And because I looked in your eyes and saw someone worth saving. Vara 7 processed his words. In her entire existence, no one had ever thought she was worth saving. She had always been worth using, worth fearing, worth destroying, never worth saving. I do not know how to respond to kindness, she admitted. I have no programming for this. Min smiled. That is okay, we can figure it out together. For the first time in 3,000 years, Vara 7 felt something that was not anger or fear or loneliness. She did not have a name for it yet, but it felt warm. It felt like the beginning of something new. Vara 7 flew through space like a missile made of silver. The raiders saw her coming on their sensors, but they did not understand what they were looking at. She was too small to be a ship, too fast to be debris. By the time they realized she was a threat, she was already among them. The first raider ship lost its engines in 4 seconds. Vara 7 cut through the hull with energy blades that glowed white-hot. She found the power conduits and severed them with precision that no human could match. The ship went dark and began to drift. The second ship opened fire. Plasma bolts filled the space around her. Vara 7 moved between them like water flowing around stones. She had fought in wars that burned planets. These pirates were nothing compared to those ancient enemies. She landed on the second ship's hull and tore her way inside. The crew screamed and ran. A few tried to fight. They died quickly, but she did not kill more than necessary. She remembered what Min had said. People are worth saving, even enemies. She disabled the second ship's weapons and life support override. The crew would survive, but they could not fight. The third ship was smarter. Its captain had seen what happened to the others. He retreated toward the colony and opened communications. If you come closer, I will release the biological weapons on the civilian population. I will kill every man, woman, and child on that rock. Vara 7 stopped. Her combat system screamed at her to continue the attack. Probability calculations suggested the captain was bluffing. But if he was not bluffing, hundreds of innocent people would die. "What do you want?" she transmitted. "I want you. A war android is worth more than this entire colony. Surrender yourself and I will leave these people alone." Vara 7 ran the calculations. The captain was probably lying. Raiders did not honor agreements, but there was a chance. A small chance that he would keep his word. And if there was any chance to save those children, she had to take it. "I accept your terms," she said. On the horizon's edge, Min heard the transmission. "No, Vara, do not do this." But it was already done. Vara 7 deactivated her weapons and allowed the raider shuttle to collect her. She was taken aboard the enemy flagship and locked in an energy cage designed for prisoners. The raider captain was a large man with scars across his face. He looked at Vara 7 like a treasure hunter who had found gold. "A war android," he said. "Collectors will pay a fortune for you. Your combat data alone is worth more than this ship." "You said you would leave the colony," Vara 7 said. The captain laughed. "I lied, pirates lie, that is what we do." He turned to his crew. "Prepare the biological dispersal, kill everyone. Then we sell our prize and retire wealthy." Vara 7 felt something she had not felt in thousands of years. Not anger, not fear, something worse. Failure. She had made a mistake. She had trusted a human who did not deserve trust, and now innocent people would die because of her. But on the horizon's edge, something else was happening. Min stood on the bridge. His face was pale but determined. "We have to save her." "How?" Ho asked. "She surrendered herself. She is on their ship surrounded by enemies." "Then we go get her." "That is suicide." "Maybe." Min looked at Captain Sora. "But she surrendered to save strangers. She gave herself up because she believed those children mattered more than her own existence. If we abandon her now, we are proving that everything she learned was a lie. We are proving that compassion leads to death and nothing more." Sora was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "The boy is right, we cannot leave her." She turned to her crew. "Ho Dongwu, you are with Min, take the shuttle, get on that ship, find Vara 7 and bring her home." "Captain, with respect, this is insane," Ho said. "I know, but sometimes insanity is the right choice." The shuttle launched 15 minutes later. Min sat in the back, checking equipment he barely knew how to use. Ho piloted while Dongwu monitored enemy movements. "I want you to know something," Ho said without looking back. "I thought your android should be destroyed. I thought you were foolish for trusting it, her." He paused. "I was wrong. What she did today was more honorable than anything I have seen in 20 years of military service." Min did not know what to say. He just nodded. The shuttle docked quietly on the raider flagship. The crew was busy preparing for the biological attack. They were not expecting a rescue mission. Min and his team moved through the corridors, avoiding patrols. Ho led the way with military precision. Whatever his feelings about Vara 7, he was a professional. They found her in the cargo hold. She was suspended in an energy cage while raiders worked on extracting her combat data. Her eyes were dim. Her systems were being forced into compliance mode. When she saw Min, something in her eyes flickered back to life. You should not be here, she said weakly. This is illogical. I know, Min said. He studied the cage controls. Being human is pretty illogical most of the time. Ho took position at the door. Work faster, we have company coming. Min found the release mechanism. The cage needed a code he did not have, but Vara 7's earlier actions had damaged the ship's central computer. The security was weakened. He just needed to find the right frequency. The raider captain appeared in the doorway with 6 armed men. The human from the salvage ship. You came to rescue your pet robot. She is not a pet, Min said, still working on the cage. She is crew. She is property, and now you are property too. The captain raised his weapon. Vara 7 screamed. It was not a sound of pain but of rage. 3,000 years of being controlled, being used, being treated as property. It all exploded at once. The energy cage shattered, not from Min's work but from Vara 7's own will. She had overloaded her power systems, destroying the cage from inside. She moved before anyone could react. The captain's weapon was in pieces. His guards were on the floor, disabled but alive. Vara 7 stood over him with one hand around his throat. You lied, she said. You were going to kill children. Please, the captain begged. I was just doing business. Business? Vara 7's grip tightened. Her programming told her to kill him. He was a threat. He was evil. He deserved death. But Min put his hand on her arm. He is not worth becoming what they want you to be, Min said softly. You are more than a weapon, remember. Vara 7 looked at the human who had changed everything. The human who kept believing in her when no one else did. The human who risked his life to save something that should not exist. She released the captain. Thank you, she said to Min, for reminding me. They left the raider ship together. Behind them, the biological weapons were secured. The colony was safe. The raiders were defeated. On the shuttle back to the horizon's edge, Ho looked at Vara 7 with new eyes. I was wrong about you, he said. You could have killed that man. You had every reason to, but you did not. Min taught me that strength is not about destruction, Vara 7 replied. It is about choice, about being more than what others expect. Ho nodded slowly. Welcome to the crew, officially. For the first time, Vara 7 smiled. It was small and uncertain, but it was real. 3 months passed after the battle at Mining Colony 17. The horizon's edge had become famous across the sector. Stories spread about the salvage ship that defeated a raider fleet, about the war android who surrendered herself to save strangers, about the young technician who never gave up on her. The ship had been repaired and upgraded with reward money from the colony. New engines, better shields, a proper quarters for Vara 7, though she still preferred the cargo bay. It was where she had been reborn, she said. It felt like home. Min had been promoted to senior technician. Captain Sora said it was for his skills, but everyone knew it was for his heart. He had seen something no one else could see. He had believed when belief seemed foolish. That kind of vision was rare and valuable. Vara 7 was now an official crew member, the first war android in history to be granted civilian status by the Galactic Union. The decision had not been easy. Many governments opposed it. Many people feared what it meant. But the Union Council had heard testimony from Mining Colony 17. They had heard from the children whose lives were saved. They had heard from Captain Sora and her crew. And they had heard from Vara 7 herself. One morning, a message arrived from the diplomatic corps. An ambassador was requesting permission to visit the horizon's edge. They had believed all their war androids were destroyed after the celestial conflict. Learning that Vara 7 existed had shocked their entire civilization. Ambassador Na arrived 3 days later. She was tall and elegant, with the pale blue skin and silver eyes of her species. She looked at Vara 7 with wonder and sadness. We created your kind, Na said. We used you for war, and when the war ended, we let you be destroyed because we feared what you might become. She bowed her head. "I am sorry. On behalf of my people, I am truly sorry." Vara 7 did not know how to respond. No had ever apologized to her kind before. They had always been treated as tools, not people. "Why are you here?" she asked. "To offer you a choice." Na gestured toward the stars visible through the window. "You could come home, to space. You would be honored there, studied, celebrated as a survivor of a terrible time." Vara 7 considered the offer. Part of her programming felt a pull toward her creators. They had built her. They had given her existence. In some ways, they were the closest thing she had to family. But she looked around the bridge of the horizon's edge. She saw Min at his station, pretending not to listen but clearly worried. She saw Ho, who had once wanted to destroy her and now considered her a friend. She saw Captain Sora, who had given her a chance when logic said otherwise. She saw Dongwu Bai and all the others who had accepted her as one of them. "Thank you for your offer," Vara 7 said to the ambassador. "But my home is here now. My family is this crew." Na smiled. It was a sad smile but understanding. "I thought you might say that. The fact that you can make such a choice proves that we were wrong about your kind. You are not just weapons. You never were." She left the ship an hour later, but before she departed, she gave Captain Sora a message. The Galactic Union Council wanted Vara 7 to testify at a special hearing. The topic was simple but enormous. Should artificial intelligences be granted the same rights as organic beings? The hearing took place 2 weeks later on the Union Space Station. Representatives from 100 species gathered in the Great Hall. Some were curious, some were hostile, some were afraid. Vara 7 stood before them all. She was not nervous. She had faced armies. A room full of politicians was nothing compared to that. But she understood the importance of this moment. What she said here could change the future for every artificial being in the galaxy. "I was created for destruction," she began. "My programming was designed to kill efficiently and without mercy. For 3,000 years I existed as exactly what my creators intended: a weapon, a tool, a thing without value beyond its function." She paused. The hall was completely silent. "Then a human freed me. His name is Min. He is a junior technician on a salvage ship. He has no special powers, no great wealth, no political influence. He is simply a person who saw someone trapped and decided to help." She looked at Min, who sat in the audience section. His face was red with embarrassment, but his eyes were proud. "He did not see a weapon when he looked at me. He did not see a threat or an opportunity or a piece of valuable salvage. He saw someone worth saving. And because he believed that, I began to believe it too." Vara 7 turned to address the full council. "I have learned much about humans in these past months. They are confusing creatures. They make decisions that seem irrational. They risk themselves for strangers. They believe in things that cannot be proven. They hope when hope seems foolish." A few representatives shifted uncomfortably. They were not sure where this was going. "But I have also learned that these qualities are not weaknesses. They are strengths. Human compassion is not a flaw in their programming. It is their greatest advantage. It allows them to see potential where others see only function. It allows them to build connections across impossible divides." She straightened to her full height. "I am standing here today because one human showed me kindness. One human believed I could be more than my design. If that is possible for me, it is possible for any artificial being. We are not just machines. We are not just programs. We have the capacity to grow, to change, to become something our creators never imagined." She looked directly at the council leader. "I ask you to consider that when making your decision. Not just what artificial beings are, but what we might become. Because if humans have taught me anything, it is that becoming is more important than being." She finished her testimony and returned to her seat beside Min. He reached over and squeezed her metallic hand. She did not fully understand the gesture, but she appreciated it. The council debated for 3 days. In the end, they passed a resolution recognizing artificial beings as having potential personhood. It was not full rights, not yet, but it was a beginning. When the Horizon's Edge departed the station, the crew gathered on the bridge for a small celebration. Bai had made something she called cake, though it looked suspicious. Dongwu played music from his personal collection. Even Ho smiled, though he tried to hide it. Later, Min and Vara 7 stood at the observation window. Stars stretched before them, endless and full of possibility. I have calculated the probability that any other species would have revived me instead of destroying me, Vara 7 said. Min looked at her and 0.03%. Humans are statistically irrational. Min laughed. We prefer hopeful. Vara 7 was silent for a moment. Then she said, I am beginning to understand the difference. The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. Somewhere out there, more salvage waited, more adventures, more chances to prove that weapons could become protectors, that enemies could become friends, that one act of kindness could change everything. Vara 7 looked at the human beside her, the human who had given her a second chance at existence. Thank you, she said, for seeing me. Min smiled. Thank you for being worth seeing. The stars blurred into light, and the Horizon's Edge flew toward its next destination. Its crew was small but strong. Different beings from different worlds, united by something that could not be programmed or calculated. Something that humans had taught the galaxy was the most powerful force in the universe. Hope.